Why emotional self-control is a man's greatest strength. What separates a man who earns lasting respect from one who constantly loses it? Many people think the answer is intelligence. Others believe it's money, status, or physical strength. While those things can certainly influence how people see you, there's another quality that's often overlooked. A quality that quietly affects every conversation, every relationship, every decision, and every opportunity. It's emotional self-control. Think about the strongest men you've ever met. Chances are, they weren't the loudest. They didn't need to dominate every room. They didn't explode every time something went wrong. Instead, they stayed calm, thought before they spoke, and remained steady when everyone else was losing control. That isn't weakness. It's one of the highest forms of strength. Because controlling your emotions is far more difficult than expressing them. Anyone can react. Very few people can respond with intention. Today, we're going to explore why emotional self-control is one of the greatest strengths a man can develop. Not because it makes life easier, but because it changes the way you think, the way you lead, and the way people experience you. Let's begin. Number 1. Self-control creates clarity. Have you ever said something in anger, only to regret it a few minutes later? Most people have. That's because intense emotions narrow our thinking. When we're angry, embarrassed, or afraid, our first reaction is often driven by impulse instead of wisdom. Imagine receiving a harsh message from someone. Your first instinct might be to fire back immediately, to defend yourself, to prove you're right. But if you wait, even 10 minutes, your response often changes. Why? Because emotional intensity fades and clear thinking returns. This is one reason emotionally disciplined people make better decisions. They don't pretend emotions don't exist. They simply refuse to let emotions make every decision for them. That pause between feeling and reacting is where wisdom often lives. Number 2. Calmness earns respect. Respect isn't always earned through power. Often, it's earned through composure. Imagine two men facing the exact same problem. One immediately starts shouting, blaming everyone around him, losing control. The other listens, takes a breath, looks for a solution. Which one would you trust to lead? The answer is obvious. Calmness sends a powerful message. It says, I don't need chaos to handle difficulty. People naturally look to those who remain steady when situations become uncertain. That's why emotional control is often associated with leadership. Because leaders don't just manage situations. They manage themselves first. Number 3. Emotional self-control protects your relationships. Many relationships don't end because of one huge mistake. They slowly weaken because of repeated emotional reactions. Harsh words, impulsive decisions, small arguments that become unnecessary battles. Imagine a disagreement with someone you care about. One choice is to react immediately, interrupt, raise your voice, try to win. The other choice is to listen first, understand their perspective, then respond calmly. Which approach creates a healthier relationship? The second one. Every time. Self-control doesn't remove disagreement. It changes how disagreement is handled. Instead of creating distance, it creates understanding. And understanding builds trust. Number 4. Discipline starts with emotions. Most people think discipline is about waking up early, going to the gym, working hard. Those things matter. But underneath all of them is emotional discipline. Because every habit is tested by emotion. You don't skip the gym because you forgot. You skip because you don't feel like going. You don't procrastinate because you lack intelligence. You procrastinate because discomfort feels easier to avoid. In other words, your emotions constantly compete with your goals. The man who learns to act according to his values instead of his temporary feelings develops a huge advantage over time. He understands that emotions change. Purpose remains. That's why emotional self-control doesn't just improve relationships. It improves every area of life. So far, we've explored how emotional self-control creates clearer thinking, earns respect, protects relationships, and strengthens discipline. But the next lessons go even deeper. because they explain why emotionally controlled men naturally become more influential, more confident, and far more difficult to manipulate. And those are qualities that can change the direction of an entire life. Number 5. Emotional self-control makes you harder to manipulate. One of the biggest advantages of emotional self-control is something most people never think about. It protects your decisions. Imagine someone knows exactly how to make you angry. Every time they criticize you, you immediately react. You raise your voice. You lose your focus. At that moment, who is really in control? Not you. The person controlling your emotions is controlling your behavior. Now imagine a different response. You hear the criticism. You pause. You ask yourself, is there any truth in this? If there is, you learn from it. If there isn't, you let it go. Notice the difference. Your emotions no longer control your choices. Other people no longer control your emotions. That is real freedom. Emotionally disciplined men don't react to every opinion. They choose which opinions deserve their attention, and that makes them much harder to manipulate. Number 6. Listening is a form of strength. Many people believe the strongest person is the one who talks the most. But think about the people you genuinely respect. They usually aren't constantly interrupting. They're listening, asking thoughtful questions, taking time before responding. Listening requires self-control. Why? Because your mind naturally wants to interrupt, to defend itself, to prove a point. But emotionally mature men resist that impulse. They let people finish. They seek understanding before trying to be understood. Ironically, this often gives them more influence, because people are far more willing to listen to someone who first listened to them. Real strength isn't found in speaking over people. It's found in understanding them. Number 7. Emotional control builds confidence. Many people think confidence comes first, then self-control. In reality, the opposite is often true. Every time you control an impulse, you prove something to yourself. You prove you can stay calm. You prove you can handle pressure. You prove you don't have to obey every emotion that appears. Those small victories slowly build self-trust. Imagine two men. One reacts to every emotion immediately. The other pauses, thinks, acts with intention. Which man is more likely to trust himself during difficult situations? The second one. Confidence isn't believing life will always be easy. It's believing you'll handle whatever comes. And emotional self-control builds exactly that belief. Number 8. Not every battle deserves your energy. One of the greatest signs of maturity is knowing what to ignore. Think about how much energy people waste every day. Arguments online, small insults, unnecessary drama, trying to prove strangers wrong, trying to win every disagreement. Emotionally disciplined men understand something important. Every reaction has a cost. Your attention is limited. Your energy is limited. Your time is limited. So they ask themselves, is this worth my peace? Often, the answer is no. Walking away isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom. Because protecting your peace allows you to invest your energy where it actually matters. Your family, your goals, your health, your future. The strongest men aren't those who fight every battle. They're the ones who choose their battles carefully. A truth that changes everything. Notice the pattern in everything we've discussed. Emotional self-control isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about directing them. Anger can motivate action. Fear can encourage preparation. Disappointment can become a lesson. Every emotion has value. The problem begins when emotions become your leader instead of your advisor. Wise men listen to their emotions, but they let their values make the final decision. That's an important difference. We've now explored 8 powerful reasons emotional self-control changes a man's life. But the final 4 lessons may be the most important, because they explain why emotional discipline creates lasting respect, why it strengthens leadership, and why mastering yourself is ultimately more powerful than trying to control anyone else. Number 9. Your actions speak louder than your emotions. There is an old saying, anyone can make promises. Few people keep them. The same is true with emotions. Many people talk about what they're going to do. They make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. When they feel motivated, they work hard. When they don't, everything stops. Emotionally disciplined men understand something different. Feelings change. Commitment doesn't. Imagine waking up early for a workout. Some mornings you'll feel energized. Other mornings you'll want to stay in bed. If you only act when you feel motivated, your progress will always be inconsistent. But if you act based on your values instead of your mood, something remarkable happens. Your habits become stronger than your emotions. Over time, this creates reliability. People begin to trust you because your actions are consistent. More importantly, you begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is one of the strongest foundations of confidence. Number 10. People feel safe around emotionally stable men. Think about the people who bring peace into a room. They don't have to be the funniest, or the loudest, or the most successful. There's just something calming about them. When problems arise, they don't panic. When disagreements happen, they don't immediately become defensive. When someone makes a mistake, they don't explode. They stay grounded. That emotional stability has a powerful effect on the people around them. Friends trust them. Family members feel comfortable opening up to them. Coworkers enjoy working with them. Why? Because people naturally feel safer around someone whose emotions aren't unpredictable. Emotional stability doesn't mean you never get angry or frustrated. It means your emotions don't control everyone else in the room. That kind of presence earns respect without demanding it. Number 11. The greatest victory is over yourself. Throughout history, people have admired those who conquered difficult challenges, winning competitions, building businesses, leading nations. But there's another victory that receives far less attention. The victory over yourself. Can you remain patient when you're frustrated? Can you stay disciplined when motivation disappears? Can you remain respectful when someone is disrespectful? Can you make wise decisions when emotions are running high? Those are difficult battles. Because the opponent isn't another person. It's your own impulses. Every time you choose patience over anger, discipline over comfort, wisdom over impulse, you become stronger. Not physically, mentally, emotionally. And that strength influences every area of your life. Number 12. Emotional self-control is a lifelong practice. Here's something important to remember. No one masters emotional self-control overnight. Even the calmest people experience frustration, stress, fear, disappointment. The difference is not that they never feel those emotions. The difference is what they do next. They pause, reflect, choose their response carefully. And if they make a mistake, they learn from it instead of making excuses. Emotional discipline isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Each difficult conversation is an opportunity to improve. Each stressful situation is another chance to practice patience. Each setback becomes another lesson in resilience. The more you practice, the more natural emotional self-control becomes. What real strength looks like. Many people grow up believing strength means never showing emotion. But that's not real strength. Real strength isn't pretending nothing affects you. It's feeling your emotions without becoming controlled by them. It means admitting when you're wrong, remaining calm when others lose control, walking away from unnecessary conflict, making decisions based on wisdom instead of impulse. Those choices aren't always easy. In fact, they're often much harder than reacting emotionally. But they're also what separate mature men from immature ones. If there's one lesson I hope you remember from this video, it's this. The strongest man in the room isn't always the biggest, or the loudest, or the wealthiest. Very often, he's the one who has learned to master himself. Because once you control your emotions, you make better decisions. You build stronger relationships. You earn deeper respect. And you stop giving other people the power to control your peace. The truth is, life will always test you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Stress will appear. You cannot control all of those things, but you can control how you respond. And that response shapes your future more than the event itself. So instead of asking, how can I control other people? Ask yourself, Can I control myself when it matters most? That question has the power to change your life. Because emotional self-control isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming steady. It's about choosing wisdom over impulse, purpose over temporary feelings, growth over ego. The man who masters his emotions doesn't become emotionless. He becomes dependable, respected, trusted, and quietly powerful. In the end, that may be the greatest strength a man can ever develop. Click the subscribe button, like, share, and follow for more.